Be seated. I'm Fred Shumacher, the Executive Director of the American Lutheran Publicity Bureau, and it's truly my privilege and joy to be able to welcome you all this evening for this conference sponsored by the American Lutheran Publicity Bureau on the theme of Christian sexuality. It was in December of last year that Pastor Russell Salzman sent a communication to the Board of Directors, and at a meeting in January of this year, we read his proposal, which was that we should sponsor such a conference. And the great news was that Russell would handle the entire meeting, getting the speakers, hosting the event, taking care of all registrations and transportation. He would do everything. And the board wholeheartedly said, go for it, Russ. And because of that, we're all here. The only discussion that took place when we met was, should we invite speakers that represent the other side of the battle that rages in our church on questions of human sexuality? And it was the unanimous decision of the board that we should not, that this conference should be upfront, tell in advance who the speakers would be, that everyone would know their position, and so no one would come here with any surprises. That we are all, I believe, in one accord in where we stand in opposition to the movement in which we have all witnessed in our church in terms of moving toward the ordination of practicing gay and lesbians and also blessing of same-sex marriages and so on. We would simply present one side, the traditional, orthodox, and scriptural side. If where you come from in the church it's anything like the metropolitan New York Synod, you would see how we arrived at this decision. Several years ago now, our bishop appointed a task force to discuss issues, to enter into dialogue and to discern the truth. And the first ministerium that we had, there was a speaker from the West Coast, from one of our seminaries, who simply presented the other side. I went before the task force and complained that the only bibliographies I received in the mail all had to do with the other side, and I said, when is the traditional position going to be presented? You may have experienced this. I felt like I was homophobic, that I was not enlightened, and I had to go through a process in which I would learn the truth, that I would get rid of my particular idiosyncrasies and my strange behavior. But they did say that they would try to get the other side. Several months went by and we would have another ministerium. And there the announcement was that there would be two speakers. One was a professor of New Testament from Union Theological Seminary in New York City, and the other was a professor from Concordia College. I was so happy. Obviously, Union would be the other side, Concordia College would be the side that I represent. I was all excited, went to the conference, and both the Union professor and the Concordia professor were on the same side. Further indoctrination, and we could go on and on. We have been up front. Those who we have speaking to us are scholars representing different disciplines. We all know that they represent the scriptures, the teachings of the church for 2,000 years, and this is the battle that we are presently engaged in. I know that this conference will be a tremendous success. I know this because I believe when we leave here on Saturday morning, we will all be reinforced in our commitments, more understanding of what we stand for, and I believe more bold to be able to stand up where we serve and to speak the truth through a church that is in difficult straits. I hope also that in some way, even in areas where we may presently disagree, that we all can be united in trying to turn the tide of our church in advance of the year 2005. So pleased, if you look around you, 200 plus pastors from across the church in the United States, also from Canada, and all of us deeply concerned about the future of our evangelical Lutheran Church in America. If I may just now make a little plug for the American Lutheran Publicity Bureau. If you know nothing about us, I would say that in 88 years ago, in 1914, our Bureau was founded by pastors and lay people of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. From the beginning, they were committed to a ministry of sending out and distributing tracts that express the teachings of the church. And in 1918, they went to the point where they distributed over 9 million tracts across the United States telling about the ministry and witness of the Lutheran Church. In 1967, the publication, The American Lutheran, that began in 1918, was succeeded by the Lutheran Forum, which is the magazine that many of you receive in the mail. We also published Unisancta for a number of years, which emphasized liturgical unity, Lutheran ecumenism, and we have continued since then to call the church to faithfulness to the Scriptures, the confessions of the Lutheran Church, the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And during the 1960s, the American Lutheran Publicity Bureau constituency began to change, originally drawing almost exclusively from the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. More than half the readership today comes from those within the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Presently, the ALPB Board of Directors consists of lay people and pastors representing both the LCMS and the ELCA in about equal numbers. In 1971, the Bureau began the publication of Forum Letter, which is, of course, edited by Pastor Salzman, a monthly newsletter. And this report on the events taking place in the Lutheran Church and the theological questions of the day has remained, over the years, a spark for discussion. Frequently critical, often controversial, the editors have always kept a solid biblical and confessional point of reference and remained grounded in the apostolic tradition of the church. Since 1990, Pastor Salzman has been the editor of this letter. In 1991, we began publishing books, and I'm sure that many of you are aware of some of our publications. I would like you to know that there's a small little bookstore in the narthex where you may find a number of them available. My dear wife, Joyce, will be the manager of the bookstore, and so I would like you to know who Joyce is so that you can all look her up and perhaps make some purchases. Joyce is behind you, over by the exit sign, and she is now in the process of waving to you. Please keep her in mind. I would also like to introduce to you members of our board that are here. Philip Johnson. Phil, are you here? Phil will be one of our speakers, a member of our board, and also the editorial board of Lutheran Forum. Dorothy Zelenko, on my right, is the treasurer of the American Lutheran Publicity Bureau and a real powerhouse in our publications. I don't know what we would do without Dorothy. Please speak to her. And then also Dick Johnson is a new person in our staff. Is Dick here? Dick, would you stand up, please? Dick is the new associate editor of the Forum Letter, along with Brother Russell. And you should know that up until this day, matter of fact, right now, the two of them have never met personally. And so I noticed you're waving. I had a joy of meeting Dick at a meeting of the Society of the Holy Trinity, and I was shocked when he said, I never met Russell Salzman. So this is certainly a great day for the two of them. And lastly, I would just like to mention a note that I received from Russell about a month and a half ago, and I would like to read it to you. It said, "Dear Fred, we passed 180 registrations. We're now well beyond 220. At that time, it was 180. The Days Inn cannot accept any more reservations. It's full. This is turning out to be pretty good." But then he wrote, "But if I ever propose another conference anywhere, at any time, or for any reason, take me out and shoot me." Brother Russ, you have done a tremendous job, an outstanding job, and we are all now grateful to you, and we will certainly be when Saturday afternoon comes around. We are not only grateful to you, but also to your dear secretary, Shelley, and all the work that she has done, and also to the members of your church, Ruskin Heights, in Kansas City, Kansas. Missouri, I got it right. And I really believe that 25 years from now, Russ, when they write some history of the Lutheran Church, they will say it took place on the 24th in 2002. Small church, Ruskin Heights Lutheran Church, where 230 pastors gathered, that changed a tide that was moving in the wrong direction and began to change the church back to its faithfulness to the Word of God, to the confessions of our church, and 2,000-year tradition of what the Scriptures and the Church has said about sexuality. Russ, our thanks to you and your people.